My name is Ryan Noss. I'm a stewardship ambassador. I'm a certified public health educator. I'm a dad, and I own and operate We Grow With LLC. Welcome to We Grow With. My name is Ryan Noss, founder. Happy to have you here, and today we're going to discuss the Grow Gauge. This is a tool that I've developed to help you help those that are also trying to help you. You can find them at wegrowwith.com. Also, there are other videos that explain more nuances and different uses, but in general, we'll cover the majority of those uses today. The Grow Gauge was developed because there's a distinctive need for the ability to convey information. And oftentimes, I'll have somebody send me a picture, and in that picture, I won't even know what they want me to look at. So our ability to send information via picture is allowing us to communicate more effectively. And so in the process of developing the Grow Gauge, I wanted a tool that would not just give me a measurement like a ruler, but help me to communicate both size and scale to those that I find in my support network. When working with bugs as an example, you're going to want to be able to send something to an entomologist. So the scale of some of these features is perfect to do just that. Like all of these different things are to have a bigger supportive network for you as you're learning and growing. The Grow Gauge is the manager's measurement tool. It helps us to measure success. The Grow Gauge itself has both imperial and metric measurements. And because it is set up and designed to be able to be used in such a way, you're able to get a measurement on two different axes, width and height. If you invert it, you can now get depth as well. The material is made to be written on with a standard pencil, and you can write on it and erase it 1,000 times, reusing it over and over. It's small enough to fit in the little glove box of a side-by-side or in a tractor. Keep one in the door of your truck just in case you do see that one thing that you're not quite sure what it is. This will help you ask those questions to people who might know. On the lower section here, this lower section includes name for who the steward is, time and date, also the location, management area, and ecology. When I'm working with different people, they'll say I'm on this farm. But each farm might have multiple fields or paddocks or pivots. And so to be able to say this is the farm, the location, but specifically in this picture, we're going to be looking at this paddock or under which irrigation system. It also is important as we are out in nature to recognize that even though it is a farm currently, it was a wild place prior to that. And so we want to have an ecological reference for what we're looking at. If you are in California like I am right now, then our dominant ecosystem would be a oak savanna. That information then helps us have a bigger and broader picture to what we can be using the data that we're collecting and how it can help our biological systems. So we have not only the name of the farm, but the specific area on the farm or the community, as well as the biological community of the ecosystem that it's supposed to represent. There's also a section here that says focal point. If there is something specific that you want to identify or look at, you actually can write that down and say the red thing or the weird, doesn't matter actually, whatever you want, that's your spot to tell whoever you're sending this picture to, or for yourself as a memory aid, that is what you're taking, the reason for the picture itself. Below that it says feel. Now that is subjective, but there's information that we can't convey through a picture. How it feels with the barometric pressure, the humidity, the intensity of the sun, whether like last night we had, or the other day we had rain showers and lightning storms. Like all of those components are also helping us understand that natural ecosystem, and we have a place to be able to record that information. There's also a QR code that goes to wegrowwith.com where you can gain other information and also check out some of our how to use videos. On the back side, there's some memory aids. These memory aids aren't to tell you what the name of the specific creature is, but to help you maybe understand their role in that ecosystem better. So here's an example. The first one, it says hunter. A hunter is positioned to pounce. Doesn't really matter to me if it's a spider, a praying mantis, or a highway patrolman. It could even be a mountain lion. Those predators, those hunters, are positioned to pounce. And so you may see things in your ecosystem that you've never seen before. Wonderful. When you're working with healthy biological systems, you will. That's part of that diversity that comes back into that system. This allows you kind of some creature characteristics to understand maybe how that thing you've never seen before fits into your system. Next to that, it says a loner. You might have a butterfly that is just passing through all by itself and you've never seen it, but this is a reference for that loner is an appreciative wanderer, right? We also have a visitor, a social tourist, a steward, which leaves that ecosystem benefited, and then more on the negative side, which is the difference between a bug and a pest. More on that negative side, we have the munchers, the hordes, the bullies, and the spoiled. All of those different things, without judgment, we can still see some function. If you've ever had a plant covered in aphids, you understand why hordes is waves of worry. Also, it's a humbling moment when you can't tell your left from your right, but if you're conveying information to someone else, it's pretty important to be specific, and so there's a little memory aid for those who might get confused sometimes. Little reminder at the end here says, we grow with life. On the other side of this back, we have a note-taking area. This note-taking area allows you to make bigger observations. It allows you to maybe make some plannings. If you'll see here, we have the acronym STOP, stop. And to do that, we can set the optical path, STOP. When we have this optimal path, it's also what we're looking at, what we're looking forward to, what you want it to be like. And so it's in this process of planning and preparation that you're able to use this tool to further those goals. I like to use that stop metaphor again to say survey, triage, observe, and proceed. When we survey, we're looking around and taking an honest assessment. What's going on? Triage helps us prioritize that situation. The word observe is OB, right? Observe. And it should be obvious to our service. That's why if you're observant, you're a servant. Only then can we move forward and proceed. And if you're planting things, you might spell seed differently, but we proceed. All of this information can be tracked in this open area. Here to the left of that open area, this graph area is actually at an appropriate 0.5 centimeter scale. This is the required scale to be able to put an insect or other things onto it so that you can send that picture off to an entomologist and get a positive ID on what that creepy crawly is that you found. Also, this graph is enough to be able to track thermophilic compost, registering both time and temperature, helping you provide the best quality product for your garden or for your ecological zone. You even have a worm here saying thanks for pitching in, because it's so important to do our part. The grow gauge also has, because of how it's shaped, the opportunity to use this section right here as a protractor, giving you angle of the grow gauge itself. That specific little use was actually contributed by my oldest son. My sons also want you to know that you can use it to hit somebody with it, though I don't recommend it. This is a planning tool. It's not going to answer all your questions, but it'll start to maybe ask more questions to get the answers you need. The memory aids are a key component in that, as we're wanting to take some of the no-brainer questions that we have to bring them to the forefront of our minds so that we're actually able to make better decisions on farm or around the home. Who benefits from using a grow gauge? The grow gauge benefits two specific individuals: the one asking the question and the one being questioned to get an answer. So this is to help both the individual who's standing there in that moment and also the supportive team that they're relying upon to get more information. It's not just for farmers. Actually, this is for anybody who grows and wants to track that growth and measurement. So gardeners and teachers and homeschools and kids, this is an activity. It's built into a whole aspect of curriculum that I teach at We Grow With. These are tools that we use so that we can go out and have a more engaging experience when we're outside and in nature. Now, there are specific benefits to the individuals who make their livelihood off working with nature. Part of that is you're not always out in the field. And so if you have a tool that you can have for your right-hand man to use, that can convey much more information than, hey boss, we've got a problem. Even if it's a broken pipe, they can use this to take a picture, and now you know that it's a 2-inch PVC pipe and it's got this is the problem. Like, this is an opportunity to convey much more from the people that you depend upon. So the reason I developed this tool is because I have people that grow with We Grow With, and I wanted to do the best that I could do to help them in that process. Them asking questions that doesn't lead me to an answer or them isn't going to help them. Instead, we want to be able to use this tool so that we can track not only the questions that we have, but also track the answers. This is a great tool for showing growth, for showing changes in your soil ecosystem. If you have residue on the surface, you just make your notes, put it down, and you can track how that residue is being consumed through the season. The key component of this is not just the pencil and the grow gauge, but the fact that we now have technology where we can use our phones, which most people have, to then capture that information and all those data points so that we can send it to people that need it. You can also use this in your files to track information. Having a visual reference plus notes allows you to have more quantitative data and not just qualitative data points. It's a really great tool to be able to get more out of what you're already doing. I designed it that way to reinforce the regenerative agricultural principles that we grow with life. We are part of a system that as it nurtures us, we nurture it, and back and forth. When nature works on our behalf, we have to do the other half, and most of the time that just means not to kill it. So the grow gauge is an excellent opportunity for you to use it in a hands-on way. It's if you find something, there's an example here. If you find something that you're not sure what it is, you can pick it up and place it on top. That then allows you to send that information off to someone else who's better equipped to answer that. This beetle here is just placed onto the appropriate scale so that we can actually send it off to an entomologist and get an individual identification of it. A lot of the arthropods look very similar, but the size is part of that distinction between different groups as well. And so it helps to see and highlight those characteristics, being able to get better information to those that are needing it to make those decisions. There are lots of observation tools, but it's in being able to pull our sensory input together that we're able to then convey that information to others so that we can get what we need as well. Some real world applications of this. I've received pictures back of people utilizing the grow gauge. At that point, they have never seen this before. Wonderful. Sometimes I've never seen it before either, and even more intriguing at that point. But if you do have something that maybe just shows up for a moment or sticks around for a day or two, this is the best opportunity to be able to capture that and get as many data points as you can with the least amount of work on you as an individual, while getting more to work with, helping you to understand the resources that you have. So when you're working with plants, it's an opportunity to show on 2 different axes the measurements of leaves and roots and stem and all the different growth aspects. I've seen just about everything in a picture, trying to use it as a scale or a reference, from coins to lighters to water bottles. And though that is helpful, it's still not as good as actually having either an imperial or metric measurement to pull from. So this is a tool that allows you to get much better information, possibly even quicker. Other real-world applications: soil aggregation is a really big deal in pore space, and so oftentimes people will bring up a plug or a shovel or spade full of soil. At that point, you now have the opportunity to put this onto the side of that and measure even the different holes that are being created. You can see that this is an 1/8 inch hole or a 1/4 inch hole, and the different biology moving through your soil profile, providing that air and water passage. If you don't have that pore space, then you have a glorified brick. It's just not hardened, but sometimes it's very hard. And so this is able to help you track change over time as well. That component is part of what makes it regenerative. Regenerative is a verb, that's why it's hard to define, and because it ends with an IVE, it's just missing the apostrophe that makes it say, I've done this and I've done that. It helps you track what you're doing and how nature is responding to those efforts, and so that you can come back to you and work on our behalf as well. So the Grow Gauge is an excellent tool to be able to track that information and to help you see the benefits through time. You're able to get more information as well as purchase Grow Gauges at wegrowwith.com. You're also able to take and interact with some of our other class and materials. We teach a soil CPR course. We have a stewardship first responder program. We also work with farmers all over the country providing equipment and education. My philosophy is that we're ill because we're ill-equipped. We need the right tools so we can do the right job. At that point, nature's been doing that job a lot longer than we have, and so it behooves us to work with the ones with hooves. So it's a great opportunity to track this information. If you're out in the field and want to make measurements and observations, having both height and width is very helpful to kind of gauge really the scale that we're working with. Here you can see that this one has been filled out with information about who took the sample or the picture, when and where it was done. It was also allows for you to use your pencil and eraser and erase it to make those notes over and over and over again. The displayed here is actually a flower head, the dried flower head of the plant teasel. If I was to just say that, it would be enough information for some, but not for most. And so this is the opportunity to not just say the word, but also to show and to measure and to actually, even with the Grow Gauge, track things like the feel. Like, this is an incredibly pokey plant that grabs out and holds on to you. And traditionally it was also used to tease wool, which is why it's called teasel. So it's a wonderful plant that's actually an insectivore. It eats bugs. So it's a great carnivorous plant too. So, but you can see how utilizing the Grow Gauge then allows you to take that picture, track that information, both where you found it, what location, and some other observations that are necessary. If I was just to have this by itself, I would not be able to convey the information necessary that helps make it real for people, and not just a label, but for the anchors that they can hook onto or anchor them. So this plant is actually a biannual. It's an amazing plant that is carnivorous and eats insects. It has some utilitarian purposes. You can actually hear it grabbing and then pulling on my skin as it barely touches. It has a beautiful pink-purple ring of flowers that stacks as it matures up the flower head. When you're in the field, you can use the Grow Gauge in a way that you just put it over the top and use your camera to take a picture. Here on the table, I can also put it on top of the grow gauge to get a measurement. When you have, some seeds are falling out. When you have the grow gauge, you can also utilize the tracking of that information by the who collected it, the steward, the date, the time, location. Example for this is from San Luis Obispo, California. Off the management area was the Los Osos Valley Road. The ecology is a disturbed riparian zone. So when you're out in the field, you can definitely put the grow gauge over the top of something, take a picture. It can be a leaf, anything you find. You can also set it down on the table and put the item over the top of it to get measurements. Here you can see that we have the steward, date, and time. In this case, this was taken from the San Luis Obispo area, Los Osos Valley Road. That would be the management area. The ecology is actually a disturbed riparian zone. And the focal point that I'm wanting people to look at is the seed head. Also, connection to the feel is that it's dry. This has been a dried out plant. So all of those can change based on where you're at and what you are doing. Kind of cool that as we were moving the teasel around, some seeds fell out, and another opportunity to use that would to put the seeds down, and you can take another picture, and so now you have the plant and you have the seeds and measurements of both to give good identification. It's not just used for plants, though. This can be used for things like animal tracks and sign tracking. And, I have a hole here, but a hole here that's half an inch large is the same when it comes to look as one 3 inches across because it's scale. We lose that scaling, so we need those measurements to help us understand. When we have that reference point, we're much better equipped to make decisions. I've often heard people say, well, I don't want to bet the farm, but it sure seems like we do that all the time. And so the more information that we can have, the more information that we can utilize, then it helps those decisions that we make be more effective because we're basing them off of more. When we have a leaf or maybe a plant that's succumbing to a disease or illness, we're able to take a picture of that to show that potential progression from a healthy plant that's immune vulnerable, has a vulnerability to it, to one that's progressing down a path of deficiency and that is sick. We're able to see that, track that, and gain better information. It tracks colors because we're using our phone, textures because we're using our other senses, and we can track those things down. Many of the things that we can capture with a camera, we won't be able to really grasp because it's visual. And so by having an ability to track other bits and sensory inputs allows us a better opportunity to address what our needs are and to meet those. So here is another example of utilizing the grow gauge with an insect. The scale here on this graph is actually the appropriate scale of 0.5 centimeters squared. That is enough for an entomologist to be able to get a good picture as well as the correct understanding for identification, what a lot of people just call a bug. Now, you will notice on the creature characteristics there's a pest and a bug, and a bug and a pest. There aren't good or bad, it's our judgment. And so then as we're interacting in our area, we have all of these creatures moving around. And that just because you see it doesn't mean it doesn't need to be there. But there are other things that we don't want munching on things that they shouldn't be, or, you have a special affinity to that flower and so you don't want anything else to enjoy it either. So this is the opportunity for you to have a bug or a pest. And sometimes that's our job as the landlords to determine the life or death out there on our land. So, but this intentionalness allows us the opportunity to then take that and gain more information from those who've specialized in specific fields. You can also use the grow gauge as a bookmarker. You can also use the grow gauge as that note-taking or planning tool The memory aids help make it a little bit more fun, and you even have sometimes when you're standing out there all by yourself working hard, you got a little encouragement. The worm there says thanks for pitching in. My little ones also wanted me to remind everybody that you can use it to poke things. So there might be things that you're not sure and you don't want to touch. So it gives you a little distance between you and it without having to quite touch it yourself. There are many uses, and frankly, I look forward to finding out some of the ways and uses you have for the Grow Gauge. Here's an example of a monarch butterfly that was found while exploring. We were able to track where we found it, what we were doing, and connected even the humidity that, we could feel in our skin while out there. Now, if this has intrigued you or maybe even just made a little bit more sense, I challenge you to come to the website and check it out and find out some other opportunities for you to interact, and we can grow with you too. Thank you for spending this time now and understanding the different ways to use a Grow Gauge. I look forward to seeing what you're growing. Thank you very much. So now that you've learned a few things that you can do with the Grow Gauge, I look forward to seeing what you can do. And feel free to share that information and pictures and what you're tracking. So thanks for learning a few of the uses of the Grow Gauge, and check out our other videos and how-tos and some of the other applications at wegrowwith.com. Feel free to connect with that community of individuals. We have the people, the partners, the products, and the programs. Lots of different things for you too to participate in, and we look forward to growing with you. My name is Ryan Noss. I'm a stewardship ambassador. I'm a certified public health educator. I'm a dad, and I own and operate We Grow With LLC. We Grow With helps people to differentiate between fertilizer and fertility. We use products and services. We equip people with the observation tools they need, as well as the products that make their jobs easier, allowing them to turn dead dirt into living land at any scale.